Hi, my name is Emily Porter, and this is my YouTube analysis for Nursing Leadership and Management. For this assignment, I decided to watch the movie John Q, which stars Denzel Washington. If you've never seen it, it's a really, really great movie. I highly recommend it. So basically at the start of the movie, we see this family, which is Denzel Washington, his wife, and their son. Real loving family, but you can clearly tell that they're low-income family, don't make a whole lot of money. I believe mom is a waitress, dad works out in the coal fields, and so their son is out playing soccer one day and he just falls over on the field, ends up going into cardiac arrest. So once they get him to the hospital, they finally revive him. They do, a whole workup on this kid and decide that he has heart failure and is going to need a transplant. And this is a real young kid. He couldn't be more than about 10 years old. And so when the hospital found out that the family couldn't afford to pay and didn't have any insurance, they kind of brushed the family off and told them, to spend as much time with their son as they could, that they don't recommend putting them on the transplant list. And it's really kind of heartbreaking because if you've ever had this kind of experience with anybody, you don't want to just spend as much time with them as you can. You want them to live. You want them on the transplant list and to get the medical care that they need. And I work in the emergency department, and so every day we get patients who don't have the money to pay, who don't have insurance, but part of our law requires that we see these patients and we treat these patients regardless of their ability to pay. So the movie goes on. The family is having a conversation with the board of the hospital, and the board basically tells them in order to put his son on a transplant list that they have to guarantee payment of $75,000 because it's going to be about $250,000 for the heart transplant. That includes the doctor fees, the surgery, all the immunosuppressant drugs that the kid is going to need, the medical care and the hospital stay. The board told the family that because heart transplant is an elective surgery, that they did not have to treat him at that time. The husband found out that he was not fully covered by his works insurance, that they changed the plan on him without telling him, and that it would only cover part of it, and they had to come up with the other part of the money. So the family, turned to the community, sold just items from their house to make money. The community from, especially the church was donating money. Even though the dad ended up coming up with, I believe it was like $2,200, the hospital faculty, the board still decided not to continue with it and to send the boy home even though he was in critical condition. So after the dad finds out that they're going to send his son home, even though he's extremely sick and even though he's already given the hospital this money, his wife actually tells him, you need to do something, you need to do something now. So he takes matters into his own hands by taking the cardiac surgeon that was there at the time into a hallway and taking him hostage. He takes this cardiac surgeon down to the emergency room, locks the emergency room down by chaining all the doors. But he doesn't actually have intentions of hurting anybody. While he is holding these people hostage, he actually is ensuring that they're getting the care that they need. There was a baby there that they provided care to, and while he was holding them hostage, an ambulance arrived to the back doors with a gunshot victim, and he even let the gunshot victim in to make sure that they would get cared for. So, although it was, bad to take them hostage, he still was making sure that people were getting cared for. Shows that he has a good heart. So while he is hostage, the police show up, try to negotiate with him, and they ask him what he wants, and he just says that he wants his son on the transplant list. So the board of directors, she shows up and decides to just tell the family that they were going to put their son on the transplant list, but not actually do it. They didn't think that he or the family was going to be smart enough to know the difference. They were just going to tell him. They assumed that the son was going to die soon anyways, and they were just going to try to make him happy and in the hostage situation. So then a little bit later we see that the dad is having a phone conversation with his son, very emotional conversation where he's telling his son that he loves him, and to take care of his mom, because the dad decides that because they won't put his son on the transplant list, that he is going to take his own life in the emergency room and have the cardiac surgeon that is there with him open his chest, take out his heart, and give it to his son. He signed this piece of paper, stating his wishes, had a couple witnesses sign it in the ER, and the surgeon that was there actually agreed to do it too. And so we see this conversation happening between John Q and his son, telling him to take care of his mother, that he loves him very much, because he has the intentions of killing himself. Well, then we get to see where the board of directors has, in a moment of epiphany, where she, suddenly becomes, and has a heart, I guess, and decides to actually put their name on the transplant list, which is a very good gesture to see. So after we find out that they put his son on the donor list, we see a flashback to a car accident, and a real bad car accident on the interstate where a car was hit by a semi-truck, and we see first responders on the scene, and they pull out her ID, and she's an organ donor. So they take this woman to the local hospital, cross-match her blood, look at her heart, and find out that it is a perfect fit for John Q's son. So back in the ER, John Q is laying on a table where he's getting ready to take his own life. He has a gun to his head. He pulls the trigger, but the bullet gets stuck and it doesn't fire. Which actually gives the mom time to find out that they found this donor, and she's running into the ER trying to get John Q's attention before he kills himself, to tell him that they successfully found somebody, found a transplant, and that their son is going to be okay. So that's pretty much the end of the movie. The last scene that we get to see is his son standing on the side of the road. His dad is getting put into a police car because he's going to jail for holding, people in the ER hostage, but his son is healthy and looks good, and it's a real happy ending. This movie kind of hits home in a way because, like I said earlier, in the ER we are required to treat people regardless of their ability to pay or regardless of insurance. And it's kind of scary too because, in the ER we're pretty much the front line of the hospital, and if somebody doesn't get the treatment that they want or that they feel that they deserve, things could end up very badly. There has been numerous times where, a patient has come in, felt mistreated, and has been escorted out of the hospital by police or our security, making threatening remarks to the staff and to the officers, and it's very scary because, many TV shows, especially one that I watch frequently called Grey's Anatomy, where a patient was mistreated and a guy came in with a gun shooting people, it's scary to think that that kind of thing really could happen. But you have to kind of try to see, John Q's side of it. He didn't really want to hurt anybody. He just wanted his son to get the medical attention that he felt that he deserved.